if I wasn't married, mate, I'd be like trying to marry a European.
Yeah,
right
or
now.
find maybe a grandmother where you can like justify like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
she's Austrian or something.
green card weddings.
How are things? We're just talking vinyl. I can see the vinyl is behind you there. How are things gearing up for the album release?
Yeah, so as we just said before being on air, I thought we'd save this and talk about it live as such. I thought, this year got an album coming out in November. I'm going to get really ahead of the game, make sure we've got vinyls on time, plenty before release and everything else. And so I sent everything for mastering December 2020, and it all shipped January 2021, and the delivery date for the vinyl box sets, I'm afraid if you've ordered one, is end of March 2022. So
That's
quite a
insane.
delay on the vinyl. Tried using a new pressing plant, basically, who took on too much work, and now we're kind of stuck at the stage where they've cut the thing. We've had test pressings, we've got metal work. If I took it to a different plant, that whole process would have to start from scratch again and be even longer. So it just is what it is. And then I've got weirdly some other vinyl that I've ordered a few weeks back is coming in December. So
That's so strange.
different pressing plant, but
Yeah. Is that a, because obviously you've been pressing and releasing vinyls for a long time. Is this like a recent phenomenon to be waiting for
this is
so long?
by far the worst it's ever been. I mean, there's been a couple of stages where a few years back, probably 5-6 years back, maybe not quite as long as that, but hit a stage where the minimum run became 500 that I could really order because like major labels caught on to repressing the Beatles and kind of taking all the space at the major pressing plants, and then they're not that interested in pressing 300 when we feel like it for a small label. We kind of got back to that, but a couple of years back, or a year or so back, one of the vinyl plants burnt down. The canal incident of the block canal held loads of plastics up for ages. The prices of plastic and raw material has gone up about 30% in the last year. Jeez. Major labels are still trying to repress stuff and do loads of stuff. And the machines, the stuff that cut vinyl, the last time these machines were manufactured new, it was like the early 70s. So everything now it's all reconditioned or refurbed. There's like the vinyl cutting heads, like the guy called Bogue from 1087 Mastering cuts all my vinyls, and the mastering heads, I think he said there's like 2 places in the world that recondition these heads to be used.
What is that exactly? A cutting
So
head?
the mastering head is basically the piece of the machine which cuts the vinyl in the first place. It cuts like one master lacquer.
Okay.
So you take your vinyl to the mastering place. He sits there with all his computers, chucks it through, makes it sound good, and then literally like a blank record goes through the machine. As you get the cutout of the vinyl, and there's a little pot there, and it's got like black cotton wool in it, which is literally the line that's being cut out.
That's amazing.
And it's super flammable as well, so you have to be really careful with it. But then that's taken, put in a big etching tank, which basically creates metal sticks to both sides of that original plate that Bo creates, and then that hardens off and makes the metal stampers, and then like you get these little plastic puck type things, and the stampers make the vinyls from that. Cut the edge off. So that's kind of the very basic summary of the process. And there's been a lot of hold-ups. One with the test pressing process, it takes a long time to for the metalworks to kind of create. I think it takes like a day per thing. So there's only so many that can go through. Then I get 10 test pressings, check that they sound all right, order the full thing. So that's your kind of basic strategy for making vinyl, and that's taken like months and months at the moment, when a few years back I could do that whole thing start to finish in maybe 8 weeks.
So what really changed? Because I feel like the vinyl revival, we've been talking about it for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, where vinyl, like, I don't know what was the year when vinyls actually like crossed, was it CD sales or something again? Like there was this huge revival. That was like a few years back already. So how come we're still in this in this mess at the moment?
I mean, one, because we lost a pressing plant, but also like this whole vinyl revival thing for me is absolute bollocks. You know, it's untrue. If for us, and I'm talking about related to our scene, it's untrue. People are not buying more drum and bass vinyl.
Okay.
And so this whole thing of like vinyl selling more and everything else, yes, that's a factual thing from years, but it's because major plants are, you know, making 5,000 copies of the Beatles and it's selling to people that want to listen to it at home on an old record player.
Yeah.
Whereas what's happened in drum and bass is 10 years ago, you'd press 10,000 records of something. Now you're lucky if you do 300 to 500. So the vinyl sales for small independent labels and people are actually, you know, less and less people are DJing with vinyl. I think that's obvious.
Yeah.
So is there more vinyl? Yes. How does it affect our scene? Well, actually, we've started to do smaller and smaller numbers, which mean if you can only sell 300 copies of something instead of even 1,000, you're way down that priority list of from a major label.
Yeah.
So your stuff is kind of pushed to the back a bit more and more, and also just the price increases. You know, it's gone up 30%. I can't absorb that cost. A little bit of the problem with the box set that I've done in this case is that I started taking pre-orders based on, like, I ordered this thing and got a quote in January. Prices have gone up so much, people won't hold those quotes. So it's costing like about £4 or £5 per unit more than I expected it to.
That's huge.
Even though I'd started selling it at one price.
Yeah, you've already pre-sold them, so.
Yeah, and I mean the biggest threat really at the moment to vinyl is Brexit.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I've seen probably we'd sell about 50% of our direct vinyl sales to EU countries. And I paid an absolute fortune to register for something called, I won't go into a boring explanation, but for those of you that are like, what the heck is that? So when we left the EU, nobody really knew what was going on. July the 1st, the law changed so that you can't ship anything under 150 euros without something called an IOSS number. It's called International One Stop Shop. What that basically means is that I have to charge VAT on it, and I have to be registered in every single EU country in order to do that. I have to have a VAT registration in every country. So there's intermediate companies that do that on your behalf. Cost about £2,500 to do it. But
and it might be for one person in, I don't know, Serbia or something.
I'm now selling like one European parcel a month because so many shops didn't bother. Like, you can just ship something with the post office still if you're a small label, but then people are getting double VATs. You know, customers are getting charged £25, £30 import taxes. If you buy from Spearhead, you won't get that because we're fully registered. People are now catching up. So Bandcamp, for example, if you're registered with them as a label, you can now use their IOSS number, which is great, but I'd already paid for one and set it all up. So yes, it's a real problem, man. You know, who wants to buy a £10 record and then have to pay £30
it's insane,
taxes and duties? I get that, but I'm getting a lot of complaints about people saying the shipping price is too much, the tax is too much. Yeah, we know, trust me. I did not vote for Brexit. I don't want it. It's too late. It is what it is. We've got a flipping deal with it. But, and the last thing I'll say on that is that, like, the duty charge. So I can pay the tax people. We basically now charge tax on top. So if you ordered something in Europe, don't get a double tax charge. But countries decide on their own duty charge, which is a separate charge when the record turns up. Could be £2, could be £20. So I've got the option to take on that charge, but I can't because I could send you a £10 record and then they decide that charge is £10 and I could end up paying you to take my stock.
To get the vinyl.
So it's okay if you're shipping stuff that's worth £100, £150, you can absorb a £5, £6 difference, but not when you're sending, you know, £5 to £10 items. So yeah, it's been a real killer, absolute killer. It's been very, very stressful to deal with.
Yeah, and on top of all the Brexit specific issues, there's been like just huge inflation in a lot of like raw materials. I've heard like across a lot of different industries, and I'm sure that's also driving up the price of vinyls.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have yet to see the impact of how this is going to affect touring DJs from the UK because, you know, there's been this other thing going on for the last year and a half that's not allowed us to travel much. So we'll discover what does that mean. You know, some countries to go and DJ in Spain, for example, from the UK, a visa costs £400 to play in Spain. You have to go to the Spanish embassy in London. You have to leave them your passport. Netherlands, I believe you can go to for free for up to 30 days. So each country is different. But if you're a DJ that perhaps gets a booking fee of £500 and then you've got to pay £400 and a trip to London, which from here on the train would be about £50 and a day there. So your whole fee is now a visa.
Yeah, it's just
you can't expect a promoter to pay double. So it's going to kill a lot. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it'll work out in time. But if you think about it too much, it's pretty freaking depressing.
Or just a lot of people leaving the UK, I imagine. Like, I don't know if if it stays like this, is the UK going to remain like a good spot for DJs and musicians?
Well, I mean, you can't leave the UK anymore. That's the thing as well. Like I lived in Ibiza for a few years. I just turned up one day and just lived there. Got a national insurance number, NEA, it's called in Spain. Stayed there. You can't do that anymore if you're from the UK. If you've got a UK passport, boom, done.
True. Yeah.
There's been, I mean, I know that some, like one of the guys from Technomatic has now got his Irish passport. They've become like, you know, currency. Have you got an Irish passport?
I don't know. I just have a Belgian passport.
You're right with a Belgian one. But I mean, basically, if I wasn't married, mate, I'd be like trying to marry a European.
Or find maybe a grandmother where you can like justify like, she's Austrian or something.
Green card weddings.
Exactly. That's a whole other like business, but
it really is.
It's insane.
Yeah. So that's the dark side. That's depressing for the start.
No, it's fine. I mean, we can't like get around these topics, and like even COVID, I've been talking about it on, I don't know, every podcast almost, just because it's so all encompassing and all impacting everything that we do. It's hard to avoid these topics sometimes, but
it is,
yeah. Anyways, on more positive note,